We've covered a great deal of ground on the first 3 programs in this series. And just to recap, first of all we downloaded JMRI. Most of you have, I guess, used Decoder Pro, but probably not Panel Pro. So Panel Pro we looked at and we ended up designing the layout. From there we automated the points, gave them each numbers, and so we could automate them from the plan. Next thing to do is to break it into blocks. This is much easier done when you're developing the layout, but in my case I hadn't designed it that way, and so I had to get the mini saw out and make breaks in one of the rails all the way around the layout. Having done that, we then allocated block numbers to each section on the layout. Now we got as far as connecting up the first node, which is node 300, and since then I've now connected up the other nodes, so this is what the whole layout looks like at the moment. So at this stage that's all well and good, and if you've followed all the things I've suggested, hopefully you'll end up with a layout that does what mine does. But what happens if it doesn't? How do you go about fault finding? We need some practical way of looking at linking a particular section of track with a particular sensor, and that with a particular node, to make sure that the input to that node changes when a locomotive goes on it. So let's assume there's a problem with this section down here, section 8. So the first thing to do is, if we follow it logically through, is see if that particular section of track is indeed energizing the sensor. So the easiest way to do that is to watch the sensor. This panel is a little bit different from the one I've shown you, but there's a sensor there that comes on as the loco goes onto the track. So driving the loco onto the track lights the sensor, so the sensor's working all right. You'll notice too that there are other sensors that are illuminated. Well, of course, that's other sections of track with locomotives on them. And in fact, as this comes off the Dottisford section, another one comes on there on the left, and then the right section goes off. So at least now we know that that's working. The next thing to do is to follow the lead through, and it comes at point 8 on here. So the next thing to do is to check the voltage. 0 volts with a negative probe, the positive probe with a meter at point 8, and it should show us, if it's switched to the 20 volt range or something above 5, it'll show us about 5 volts as it has here. Now if we get the controller working, again you'll see the LED light up when the loco goes onto it, but you should also see this voltage on here change. And if it's working right, then that has in fact changed down to 0 volts. So again, if I reverse the loco and bring it back out of the station, you'll see that voltage go from 0 up to 4.8, about 5 volts. So at least we've proved that the physical aspects of the layout are working. The sensor is picking up the presence of a locomotive on the track. The sensor is then feeding into the CANV input, and the CANV input, we assume, is responding. We can assume that as long as it's responding to other sensors on its inputs. So from here, our only option is to move back and look at the software. So check what's going on with the FCU, and also, of course, what's happening in JMRI.